Are you sitting at home scrolling through social media, looking at barber videos, watching YouTube videos, things like that, and you're saying, man, I would really, really enjoy doing that. I think it would be a good career for me. I think it would be something that I could do. Well, I'm going to tell you that you're right. You're probably right. But what I will tell you is you can't, and if you're sitting there at home and you're waiting and you're thinking like, this would be great, but it's not the right time. It's not the right time. If you're waiting for the perfect storm or the correct time to get started, I'm just going to tell you, obviously, like there is no perfect storm. There's no perfect time. You just need to get started. Get started in where you are. Get started where you are. I promise you, someone is going to give you an opportunity to cut their hair. Someone. I don't know necessarily who, but someone will, right? Somebody in your friends, your family, somebody's going to give you an opportunity to get started. So waiting for the perfect time is just it's non-existent. Like don't do that. Don't wait for the perfect time. Get started. And when I'm saying get started, like you have to understand that there are foundational things as far as barbering is concerned. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, man, I would really like to be a barber, but I'm afraid that I'm going to mess somebody up. You know what I tell them? You are. You absolutely are. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to cut it too short. You're going to leave it too long. Like you are going to make mistakes. Big mistakes, little mistakes, intentional mistakes, unintentional mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Success in this game, as far as the visual success, not necessarily monetary success, visual success, is all about repetition. You've got to cut some hair. You've got to cut a lot of hair. You've got to make mistakes and go back to the drawing board and say, oh, this didn't work. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. And now more than ever, it's a whole lot easier to grow and develop and to get answers to your questions because you have access to so much information. You have access to so much information. It's just the truth. You do. You have access to so much information. So, if you're thinking about it, if you want to get into this industry, get started. Pick up a pair of clippers. If you don't have anybody else to practice on yourself. You know what you want your haircut to look like. So, try it out. Figure it out. When you start to make your haircuts look presentable, maybe then you start to, cut other people. Maybe then people will trust you. Maybe then but you've got to just get started. You've got to get started. And you got to get started and you need to understand understand the foundations. Take time, take this early time to understand the foundations. Order some mannequin heads from Amazon. They're like $35, $40 at the most. From Amazon now. Order some mannequin heads. Test it out. Figure out what we've got going on here. You know, like this, figure it out. You'll get it together. You will get it together. Do you understand? Like, this is what we have going on. Like, no barber who is, no barber that you're looking up to started out as great as what you see. The barbers are honest. They're going to tell you that they made mistakes. They're going to tell you that their haircuts last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago don't look like the haircuts that they have now. But you know what they did? They stayed consistent. They stayed with it, and they pushed through. That's what they did. They stayed consistent, and they pushed their way through. They made it happen. They made it happen. And that's just what it is. And you have to really, really be focused and stick with it. It's going to be a difficult road. I'm not telling you that it's going to be easy, because that would be a lie. I'm telling you that it will be worth it if this is what you want to do. I'm telling you that if you come into this industry and you truly want to be successful, you're going to have to leave some of those things that you like to do. You're going to have to leave them behind. You're going to have to leave them behind. And I know that doesn't appeal to a lot of people. That may not be what you really want to do or anything like that, but you are going to have to leave. You're going to have to leave it behind. Don't know any better way to explain it to you. It's just what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to leave some of that old stuff behind, because that stuff is going to damage your career. It's going to damage your potential and things like that. It's just what it is what it is. Right? Oh, well, I'm just going to be me. Okay. I mean, I don't know I don't know what you guys want me to tell you about it, but you're elevating your status. That's your desire. Your desire is to elevate your status and your importance amongst your friends and the community. It's what a lot of people are looking to do. I'm going to become a barber because I'm going to do this because that's what a lot of... that's what people do. Right? That's what you're looking for, is the elevation in status. Well, in order to elevate your status, you're going to have to do something different. One, first being get started. Get started. There's no other way. And once you get started, keep going. And keep going. And keep going. And keep going. And keep going. You know, some people look at this as like a race or some sort of competition. And if you want to consider it that way, that's fine. You know, but you're going to have to put some sort of end goal in sight, right? If your end goal in sight is, let's just say, to get your license, okay, there's some things that have to occur between your start and your license. What are those things? Well, some of those things might be going to school or finding an apprenticeship, right? Now, in the time that you find an apprenticeship or you go to school, like, it may be a setback from what you're doing before financially. So you're going to have to fill the gaps with maybe some other stuff, right? That may be what you have to do. But in the idea of the race, if you don't have an end point, you have no direction on where you're going. I'm going to say that again. If you don't have an end point, you have no direction on where you're going. Right? Everything that we do in life has an end point. What does that mean? Well, this is what I'm saying. The end, you go get a job, right? And the job pays you every 2 weeks. You got to work 40 hours a week and 80 hours every 2 weeks. Your end point in that scenario is you going to work how do I say this? Sorry. Your end point in that is the paycheck that you get at the end of the 2 weeks. Now, in order to get from day number 1 to day 14, right, you know that you're going to have to commit to whatever the schedule or whatever the hours may be in the between those 2 days, between the beginning and the end, right? And this is what I'm saying about barbering. Like, it's a journey. I want to get here. I want this status. Well, you're going to start down here. You're going to start way down here in this place where people don't know who you are. People don't trust you. Sometimes you don't trust yourself. Your skills aren't the best. But you're saying, I want this goal. I want this goal. Well, in order to do that, you have to go through that phase. And then you have to go through the phase where, I kind of figure it out. Right? And then you think, well, maybe I didn't understand it. And then, I figured it out again. Well, maybe I didn't understand it. And, I figured it out again. Maybe I didn't understand it. Each time, you're like, I figured it out. Maybe I didn't understand it. You're leveling it up each and every time. Boom, 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 boom. And this is what people don't necessarily understand. Sometimes you'll hit your goal of notoriety or respect or whatever it may be, right? You'll actually hit your goal before you thought you did, but because your brain is struggling with the nonsense that you put in and that up and down of learning, unlearning, learning, unlearning, like, because you're struggling in that phase, you don't understand that people are respecting you for for doing the things that you said that you would do. That's what they're respecting you for. Because you took a chance that they could never take. They don't want to take. They have no desire to take. It's too hard for them. They don't understand. How do you do it? How do you survive? Yada, 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 yada. But if you really want to make this thing happen, you just got to get started and keep going. You get started and you get somebody and they pay you $5 for a haircut, cool. You now have everything you need to be. You now have the basics of what you need to be successful. If somebody has agreed to pay you $5, you can get somebody else to pay you $5. And if you stay in the $5 zone for a year, so be it. Right? And the now I understand that it may be confusing what I'm saying. If you have everything that you need to be successful, that means that you have developed, you have a basic enough skill set that somebody is willing to pay for. And it may not be a lot of people right now, but if they're willing to pay, you're willing to keep going, to possibly keep paying it. Maybe they'll send you somebody else, and then another person, and then another person, and then another person, and then another person. Okay. Cool. And then you just keep going. You got to you got to put blinders on. You got to put blinders on. If you're looking at these haircuts and these videos and you're like, man, I really want my haircuts to look like that, but they just don't look like that right now. They didn't always look like that for the people that you're watching either. You understand that, right? They didn't always look like that. So, keep going. They had to. You know, we talked about it. Don't compare yourself to someone else trying to take credit for the work that you did not do. Just that simple. Just that simple. I don't have, I don't have much more for you guys. I just, like I said, I wanted to give you guys some encouragement for these guys that are thinking about being barbers this year and going and taking the journey. Take it. Understand that it won't be easy, but if you stay consistent and what you're doing, consistency is the biggest key to this industry. The difference between the broke and wealthy barber is consistency. The difference between the talented and untalented barber is consistency. Their consistency is usually based on education more than it is, the consistent. Because if you're doing it wrong, if you're doing a technique or a process wrong, it's always going to be wrong until you change it. Right? The repetitions are necessary, but if you're repeating processes wrong, it's going to be wrong. However you compute it, it's going to be wrong. It's just how it is. I don't necessarily really know what you want me to tell you in that aspect, but if you're doing it wrong, it's going to be wrong. And I don't and I will tell you this: the place that you can find the correct foundational information is in your textbooks, not on YouTube. Not on YouTube. Yes, they're showing you a lot of things, but some of their stuff is the way. Like, yes, barbers have different techniques and different ways they go about a lot of things, but for the most part, the principles remain. The rules remain the same. They don't change. It's just the way that you watch someone follow the rules. The rules don't change. They don't. But what you see one barber do versus another barber, if their results are very similar, it's just in how they approach the rules. And that comes from their understanding of the foundation. Very simple. It comes from the understanding of their foundation. So again, guys, if you want 2024, you want to get your barber's license, you want to be a barber, that's fine. Just know that you're not going to go to school or start an apprenticeship and go from unknown to legend in 3 months. And I'll say this, even if you are the best barber in your school, you're probably going to be mid-range or low or mid-range at best in the shop in the beginning. It's just the reality of it. Like, you're probably going to be mid-range at best. School is about learning the foundations. It's not about perfecting the craft. It's not about perfecting the craft there. You perfect your craft in the real world environment. School is a schoolhouse environment where they train you to do things. When you get into the real world, it's when you really learn how things work. But the foundation is there. You build upon the foundation. Don't build your foundation once you're out and about and in the real world, because this is not a good idea. It's just not a good idea. But either ways, guys, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 82 of the Band of Barbers podcast. The Band of Barbers podcast with your host, Devon Evans. I thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much. If you made it to the end of this episode, I really, really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you have enjoyed what we had to talk about tonight. Guys, I really just want you to stick with it and finish what you started. Right? Get started and finish. That's it. That's it. Thank you guys again. Hope you have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.